into Robyn's Reviews. I know we've been covering the book by Robyn Crawford, A Song for You. However, today I wanted to cover a couple of chapters of Good Girl, Bad Girl by Kevin Ammons. I've mentioned him before in prior or previous videos. So, Kevin Ammons was actually a bodyguard for Whitney Houston, all right? Shortly, hold on, here we go. Okay, so just wanted to cover a couple of chapters of this book, and primarily because this book was written in 1996 when Whitney was still alive, all right? So that's very significant. So basically, Kevin says he met Whitney in 1991. He said that he had been a guest at the 13th Annual Black Achievement Awards. He was the boyfriend of Regina, who at that time was Whitney's publicist. Okay, so that's why he was there. And he's just talking about how he loved it. Patti LaBelle picked him out. Okay, so you know, he'll never forget that night. She had him up on stage singing, and then he talks about how when he went backstage, he said that, you know, Patti LaBelle was telling him how, you know, he had a wonderful voice. Now, throughout this book, Kevin is talking about how he wants to become, you know, a big star, a big singer. So then he mentions that Patti was like, well, do you have a manager or under management? Whitney comes over and says, yes, he does. I'm going to manage him. And so you can sort of feel the bitterness from Kevin throughout this book, because he's always constantly saying, you know, well, Whitney's, you know, said she was going to help me with my career. So just keep that in mind, folks, okay? It never happened. And also, Kevin says that, you know, he started to feel some type of way, okay? He started to feel bitter, like she was just always blowing him off, okay, and ignoring him, basically. All right, so he also talks about Sissy. He talks about, well, I digress. He also talks about how he grew up in the projects of Chicago, all right? So he talked about how he and Whitney had a lot in common. She grew up, well, when she was younger, they were in the projects in Newark, okay, before they moved to East Orange. So he talks about, you know, when they would have, you know, some conversations, they would talk about how much they really did have in common. He also talks about how he had a really good relationship with his mother, and how he noticed that Whitney didn't fare so well, emotionally speaking. He noticed a big difference, even though they were both, come from some pretty poor backgrounds, all right? He's saying he fared a little bit better. He talked about how Whitney and her brother Michael were pretty much latchkey kids. He talks about how Sissy was married briefly. She really doesn't talk about it, and that's that's how Gary was born, her firstborn, actually. He also talks about Sissy, singing. Her maiden name is Drinkard, and she had a group with the Drinkard sisters. She had also, they're related to the Warwicks. I mentioned that in a prior video. They are related, okay? He talks about how Sissy started the Sweet Inspirations, and they didn't receive, they didn't have major success, more local, okay? But he also talks about how, Sissy, was a background singer. Sometimes she would take Whitney, and Whitney would always ask, can I sing, can I sing? Eventually, she did let her sing at around 12 years old, okay? And of course, she floored it, as usual, the voice. Okay, so he also talks about how Sissy was always, sort of bitter. I have a better voice. She would be saying that as opposed to people who were famous. Well, why aren't I famous? So she was a little bitter about that. Okay, a little hostility. Also, he mentioned that was it 1977? Whitney's parents split up. Now, Whitney was a daddy's girl, Okay, so that devastated her, and we know what a divorce or separation can do during those teenage years because hormones are all over the place to begin with. Okay, so he talks about that, and he talks about how when Whitney was in elementary school, she would get chased home, you know, dress torn, hair barrettes ripped out. So she was tortured when she was in elementary school, unfortunately. Said she really didn't have any friends. She was kind of shy and aloof, and she didn't have any friends. And then her parents put her in Mount St. Dominique in Caldwell, a all-girl Catholic school. They were jealous of her as well. She didn't have any friends. So this was like a way of life, unfortunately. Also talks about, let me see, 1978, Whitney and her mom were in New York. This guy walked up to them and said, you know, told Whitney, you look like you could be a model. Of course, they think, you know, he's just making it up. So anyway, Sissy took her that same day to Click Models. She signed up. Boom, she's modeling. Then weeks after that, she was with Mademoiselle, 17, Young Miss, Cosmopolitan, Glamour. All right. So also he talks about, you know, Whitney just never having any friends. So that's significant. He says that Whitney's mother, Sissy, which I think I mentioned, she's the one who, you know, told Whitney, you need to find something to do. That's when she went to the local camp, and that's where she met Robyn Crawford. So he said, boom, they had an instant rapport, which was something new for Whitney since she didn't have any friends, okay? Kevin talks about how their friendship blossomed into a relationship, which we all now know it was a full-blown relationship now, thanks to Robyn Crawford's book. But he said that the other kids at the camp would call them names, you know, slurs basically, you know, dykes. And they would make like kissing sounds with their mouth or whatever when they walked by. But he said that Robyn and Whitney didn't care. They would just walk by arm in arm with their head, you know, leaned up against each other, just talking in their own world, just basically oblivious to the environment. All right, so just wanted to talk about that, and that's pretty much it for the first couple of chapters. So remember, if you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. And I wanted to share something new with you. I have a new channel that I'm starting called the Cyber Sense Report, where I'll be talking about financial matters like, you know, your credit report, real estate matters, health insurance, life insurance, things of that nature that we all need to be cognizant of, particularly in these times that, like we're going through now with this coronavirus pandemic. So we need to prepare, you know, before the bottom drops out. So I'll be talking about some, you know, important financial matters. So I haven't uploaded any videos to that channel yet. I'm still working on that. I will have guest speakers come in for that particular channel to share some insight with you, and hopefully it will be informative and it will help you to make some decisions that you need to make for you. So thank you again for watching Roland's Reviews. I enjoyed having you, and always remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments in the comment section. Send me an email. I will respond. Thank you for watching.